Guys, what's going on? It's Bobby K. In this video, we're going to show you how to replace an old pond liner. So the first step you want to do is after you take the boulders off, evaluate the liner. If you can happen to find where there might be a little cut or a little puncture or whatever it is, a great product to use for that is Flex Seal. I love it. It always seems to do the job. There's other products out there, but you can simply just put the Flex Seal on there with a paintbrush, let it dry over 24 hours, and that might be your solution. If you can't find the leak, it's time to put in a new liner. So the first step, see if you can find it. If you can't, let's take the boulders off. Okay, so step number 2, we've taken the majority of the boulders off. We got some decorative gravel and things like that in there, but that's okay. Now what we're down to is the weed barrier or landscape barrier. It really doesn't matter. As long as water can permeate through, that's what you want. Now why do we put this down? Well, we're gonna put this down underneath of the liner as well as over the liner, because when we're putting big boulders down, the last thing we wanna do is snag it or put it in too aggressively and have a little rip. All of a sudden we're doing exactly what we're doing today again. So the idea is to cushion the blow as much as possible. Another way that you can do that is with some decorative gravel or some like Merrimack bee gravel is always great. You put that down and you can set the boulders down in that. It also cushions the blow. If you've got some really big boulders and you're doing a real big natural waterfall with straps, big equipment, things that obviously you can't lift, this is just a smaller stream that we're putting the liner in. You definitely want to put some gravel down there and use either pieces of wall fabric or scrap pieces of the rubber liner that you cut off as excess to put down to make sure that you're not going to have any rips when you put that in. Now, we're going to cut this away, put the new liner in, put it back down, and then start to rebuild this bad boy. Hopefully the lawn guy is gone. He's been here for like an hour. It's like, how long does it take to cut a lawn? Anyways, I hope you can hear this. Here's the bonus tip, baby. So we pulled all this up, but look at all the gravel that was up in the stream. Now we've got to move this and we want to repurpose that. And then once we take all this up, we're going to dig out all of this along here so that we can slip the liner down in over the basin that is this whole area right here. And then we'll run it all the way back up. Okay, so as you can see, what we're trying to do is go down at least a foot or two so that we can slip that liner over the liner that holds the basin, holds all this water. This thing's about 4 feet deep. Whole idea is you want everything that goes on the liner down in the basin, recycling back up. So we got some work to do. Okay, so another bonus tip. As we keep going through this process, we're noticing there's some really good content here to help you guys if you've got to do this. So here's one thing I would definitely strongly suggest. You can rework the layout of the waterfall. It doesn't have to be exactly like it was before. So one thing that we noticed as we started to pull everything up, we did notice that the basin liner was up and under, but it was slightly downhill. Now, I don't know if that's why we could have been losing some water. I doubt it. Whole point is we started to work the earth on the sides and tighten up the stream and then pocket it underneath of, say, this area right here and along all of this area right here. So why are we doing that? Well, you want to make sure that everything is going downhill. And the second thing is, the wider your stream is, the more water's got to fill, the more time it takes to get down there, the more that thing starts to suck and suck and suck and suck. And eventually it may suck it dry because it takes so long to get down there. Now we're going to show you some tricks later in the video to get the water down there quicker, but the idea of tightening up the stream, making some cool turns and crevices and using boulders to make it look natural, why not? Okay, quick little tip. The reason that we rolled this whole thing out isn't because that was the smart thing to do. We want to put this thing together, get it up into the middle of the stream and roll it out. Why we roll it out in the first place is I want to inspect this thing. A lot of the times you go to a yard, the guys who are cutting it are a little careless. I want to make sure that there's no rips in this thing before I put it in and I do all this hard work and I've kind of put myself behind the 8 ball from the start. Does that even make sense? Behind the 8 ball? It sounds, you know what I'm talking about, whatever. Okay, bonus tip. So what we're gonna do is we've got the liner, as you can see, put there, we got the hose up there. Obviously we're gonna hide all this stuff. What I wanna show you is the basin. This is a pondless water feature. It's filled with a bunch of clean rock and a decorative stone on top. 90% of this is water that's all around the rock in there. We have a basin down in here where your pumps and your hose that goes all the way around are down. We're gonna fill this up, make sure that we know exactly where the water level is, and we're gonna run this thing for a while. We want to run this thing to make sure that obviously the new liner is intact, that we've got everything troughed up so that no water is going to leak out, so that when we do put that fabric over, that we can start to face everything knowing that it's going to hold water. So here comes another montage. Okay guys, I know we're right in the middle of building this bad boy, but I need to stop. This is very important. This is landscape or pond foam. You always want to have this. There's a couple ways you can do it. There's big ones that come with like a gun, like a caulk gun kind of setup, or you can just have these guys. You shake it up. Definitely get some of these gloves. Another brand that I use is called Venom. You can get them at Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, whatever. This stuff is nasty and it will get all over the place. So you definitely want to have gloves on. What I'm doing right now is I'm essentially framing up the stream, the sides, so that I know that the water is going to stay in our little trough that we got going on. Right here, it's a little bit low. This is about the height, and I want that water to pitch down in here and not come and go back out into the bed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the landscape foam, I got a big rock here. Essentially what I'm going to do is create a barrier. So I'm going to plop this down into the foam. Did you hear that? That sounded cute. And what that's going to do is fill up and know that any of that water that comes down is going to hit this and keep going down into our path. I'm going to put a couple more in there and we're going to keep going. Okay, we're towards the end of the build. We're down below. We got everything pieced in there where the water is going to be dissipating now, coming on down. We got it going through this little gully right here, and then we get down to the final spot. And we want this to be pretty dramatic. So with this piece right here, all the water is going to come down. It's going to rush in behind there. It's not going to go over this. So what you got to do is you got to take a piece off, and we did this pretty much the whole way up. You want to take your pieces off, spray in around them, squish them down so that water doesn't go in between. It goes up and over the pieces. So we take this guy, put him here. If you come on down here, you can see how big of a like little gully this is. I want to fill this bad boy up. Probably could have saved obviously a lot of pond foam if I just filled some clean and then did it, but you know, it is what it is. So we're gonna put this in knowing that that is pretty much airtight once that all expands. So what's gonna happen is the water's gonna come down, and even if it gets around here, it's gonna fill up. What I wanna do is have a dramatic waterfall. So I'm gonna put this piece in, We're gonna make sure this is filled up so that the water comes off this or through here and comes over this and boom, hits down here and goes in. Let's get this bad boy running. Okay guys, so now we got this thing fully functional. We wrapped everything up. I think it looks great. Everything that we did as far as channeling the water made perfect sense when we were building it, and everything followed. So now we've got water cascading over all the different pitches and falls that we had. We checked for leaks. We had a small one on the left-hand side. It's simple, you just kind of break it down, you move it in a little bit, and make sure that the liner is up above where the water level is. It's pretty much all you have to do. This is Bobby K. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you on the next one.